Hey, welcome everybody to my chess stream here on Twitch and lichess.org. International Master Willam Paschall. I was just waiting for the Twitch stream not to work, but it is working. So it's like, when I expect it to not work, it automatically works. I paused a few seconds before speaking. I was expecting the drop frames to hit, but it did not. We're good to go. It's a regular blitz and classical stream today. You can play two Chess 960 games. Troll on a Roll. Troll on a Roll is challenging me to 5-5 Chess 960, which is cool. I've almost reached master level in Chess 960. I'm rated like 2196. If we go by the classical measurement of 2200 being master, I'm almost a lichess master in Chess 960, but I need like 4 more rating points. Constant Change, speaking of masters, at 2208 is here. Wow, good to see you. I was talking yesterday, Constant Change. I think Mule Skinner has passed you for overall games played against me. He's like around 120 or something. And Xerox also, wow, we got some strong players. So Xerox is 2224, also challenging me to Chess 960. Normally the 5+3. I told Troll before that with the Chess 960, I don't mind making the 5-second increment. So Xerox, it's up to you. Like, if you want to challenge me at Chess 960 with a 5-second increment, because Chess 960 is kind of tough. I don't mind doing the slightly longer increment with those Chess 960 games, but I'm only going to play 2 at the most. So we'll take Troll on a Roll. We lost Constant Change. He always has internet. Are you around 120, Troll? Oh, because of your other account, I keep forgetting, right. Are you that high? I wasn't sure, but that sounds about right, actually. We did play a lot of games. So are you possibly higher than Mule Skinner, the record holder? Mule Skinner sort of snuck past Constant Change because, Constant Change just hasn't been here. So B4 is, why not B4? I play A3 in the St. George anyway, so... Actually, it was always weird that I had an affinity for playing the St. George with black, but I don't know, though. You know, it's kind of weird to play A6 or something like that when you're like white playing A3 or B4. You're the first one making a weakening move. Somehow I like playing A6 against E4 for some reason. It also upsets people. But... you know, it does create some weaknesses if you look here, like the A2 square. If he had some way to come in on the white squares, I mean, that could be a very costly weakening for me. Say he had a bishop on this diagonal, you know, I probably would think twice about playing like B4. A lot of my students are surprised when I talk about color complexes and stuff like that, because when you start out in chess, you're thinking mostly about not hanging your pieces and just calculating tactics. And I think it's, you know, it comes a point when you're getting stronger in chess and you start to think about the board in terms of squares rather than you know, captures and pieces and stuff. So if you've reached that point, congratulations. I really wish I could fianchetto my bishop on G2 here. That's not going to happen. I'm gonna watch this queen on the diagonal. Usually the queen can't do too much damage by itself. Constant Change. Yeah, I'm good. I was in the United States for 2 months in July and August. And I know you're from like India, so you're in a very much later time zone over there, I guess. My American streams might have been too early for you, or perhaps you have other stuff you have to do, but now we're not that far apart. So maybe you can watch some of the streams. I'm streaming in the evening. That might be tougher on the guys east of here. You know, my stream's at 7 p.m. For people like in Asia, it's pretty late, I guess. But we have the 3 morning streams, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Having trouble remembering my days. So I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, blitz and classical chess, and then Tuesday is a viewer tournament 7 p.m. CEST, Central European Summertime now. Thursday night we just did our subscriber stream, also at 7. But you stopped playing chess after I went to the US. Wow. Well, we all like stopped playing chess, but we never really stopped playing chess. That's the thing about chess. It's not like other games. It's hard. You can never really quit forever. I know very few people that could quit chess permanently. Actually, my best friend, he kind of did. He was a master, and I don't think he's played since like 1994, 1995. We both became masters in the early 90s, and he never played for like 20 years. It's pretty hard to do, though. I don't know how you can do that. Just quit completely. Alright. This is a little bit risky because... Why is it risky? Well, I have some weaknesses like on the dark squares here. I've got to be mindful about that. But I don't like this e4 lunge. Want to get a little bit of grip on the center. Maybe I could play like g3, but... and knight g2, I was thinking, but the queen's coming down. So I've got to be careful. You're into snooker. Okay, that's cool. I was into poker for 7 years, not playing much chess, kind of the same thing. It's good to branch out and do other stuff, you know. I don't recommend people, you know, become completely one-dimensional. A lot of chess prodigies are like that. You know, all they do is chess and only chess, and I think that's not really healthy, to not have a balance to your life. So congratulations for finding something else. Yeah, h3. Well, this is a little weird, but I don't like my other options. I don't like the option of letting his queen in there. I have a very concrete plan here to play g3, knight g2, or g3, king g2. Actually, king g2. It looks strange to do that with the bishop lurking on the long diagonal. So maybe I should just play like g3, knight g2, knight e3, and then slowly creep my king up to g2. It would be better to reinforce my strong point on e4 just in case this diagonal ever opens up. But I really want to play g3 to keep him off of f4. Come to think of it, he should probably play knight f4 right away. There it is. Alright, now we have a slight problem, but I'm sure that I can resolve it somehow. Knight g2, that's kind of slow. Alright, possible piece sacrifices on e5. That's a little over the top. Okay. So this is where you got to think outside the box. Alekhine style. That knight really can't take on h3, can it? Because it's trapped. There was a famous game Alekhine played against Paul Keres, where he sacked his h3 pawn in a Lopez. And the position got so complicated that eventually Keres lost his way. Famous game. It's in Max Uwe's book, The Middle Game, which I highly recommend. All right, now we got him out of there. He has been extradited from f4. We're taking over. Taking over key squares, and it does look like a Lopez to me. It's actually looks like I'm playing the Lopez with black. Fianchetto knight, Fianchetto if you like correct pronunciations. Why did you give up ICC? Well, I've had a lot of dealings with. I don't think I was treated very fairly by ICC, but that's not the only reason why I was stopping. I mean, it just seems like ICC doesn't have very many members anymore, so it's still good for playing. I mean, if I were to just be looking for good players to play against, it's probably not a bad place to just play blitz, but But I have some personal problems with some of the owners there, so I finished with them. I'll occasionally still log on to the site if I have nowhere else to play, basically. But you know, it was a great site for its time. But I mean, the software is outdated. I mean, I don't like the owners, and there just aren't that many players anymore. Troll and a roll sacked a piece here. This I was concerned about, but I just don't think it's quite enough for black. We have the bishop on d1. If you haven't noticed, it's easy to forget about that. Protecting my f3 knight. Might have this, as I pointed out last night in my subscriber stream, a game with the river guarding rook. I can also jump a knight into d5 probably to just block this potential play. So, oh, can he play knight g5 here? Black has like no development. I was sort of hallucinating. My queen was attacking that knight. So I have to take now and move the knight somewhere good. Usually Troll and a Roll has serious problems with the clock, and this game hopefully will be no exception to that. Alright, here we go. We're going to blockade the d3 square. I guess we'll have to blockade, or I don't know. It's a little weird. Okay, now bishop g5. You know, I'm pretty sure I can just sack the exchange here and have like an overwhelming position. This is like an intuitive. I can play knight e6 check too, for that matter. Whoops. Maybe that's just simpler. Oh no, c4 is hanging. Whoops. Want to be careful about that probably. Knight g6 check. That has its issues too. Yummy Hat, it's kind of personal. It's very nice of you to ask, but I don't like to discuss my personal business here on the stream. Let's just say that ICC, you know, didn't live up to my expectations as an employer. Bishop g5 here. Yeah, I think we should just take it. I'm gonna maybe play king g1, trap his bishop on h1. They have a little bit of tricks maybe with h6 or queen f5 perhaps. Queen f5, queen h5. Yeah, he had to play queen f5. So queen h5, we'll just take the piece. We've got 3 pieces for a rook. That's a lot. That's enough for a queen, basically. Objectively, I'm just winning, but there are some strange features of the position, like the connected rooks can grab the open file here. I guess I should just try to trade. I'm having hallucinations. I could put my queen on h5 earlier, by the way. That's not the first time I've had strange hallucinations. My first game out of the gate in a day. I don't know about h4, but what else? I need another retreat square for my knight, and this sort of anchors everything. Troll and a Roll's done a good job not losing on time, but he finally did it. He is the most likely to lose on time. I thought I was better throughout the game. You know, let's see if my judgment was right. As weird as it is, this like fianchettoing the knight and stuff, yeah, this piece sacrifice isn't quite sound for Troll. I should have a fairly low cent upon loss here. Okay, so this isn't good. Rook b3. What am I supposed to do? The computer just wants me to give up this rook on b1. Wow. I have a massive lead in development. I'm not sure how much that matters, really. So maybe the piece sack is sound troll. I mean, I'm supposed to castle. You take here, I take here, and white's just slightly better. Interesting. All right, I didn't really consider like giving up the bishop. We've got tough players. Constant change. Actually, we lost. Oh no, there. Xerox was next. He changed his challenge. So, if you guys are subscribers, I'd like to let you guys who are subscribers play first. I don't see any challenges from subscribers or subscribers in the stream today. Yesterday we had our subscriber stream. I guess they're all tired from that, but they'll be around a little bit later. Some subscribers. I appreciate the support, guys. If you do subscribe, you get to be like priority, so you can play first. And the other thing is, it just helps support my stream. I had a really good center-pawn loss there, only 14 center-pawn loss. That's excellent for chess 960. I mean, I rarely have a low center-pawn loss like that in chess 960, so I'm happy with that. Constant change. These guys, I think I've played everybody on this list before, but Xerox is second in the list. Maybe he was actually ahead of. Maybe he was actually ahead of Constant Change. No, Constant Change was first, and then Xerox, I think. Constant Change is strong. He's 2200 in classical. You know, his internet isn't great, I think, so that's why he's not so good at blitz. All right. What are we gonna play here? What did he used to play? I forgot. Well, anyway, we'll see. Do I play IRL? Off-track betting. Over the board? Yeah, but not very much this last couple months. I've only played one game since June. It was a quick draw. But I tried to play. I played quite a bit in the first part of the year. I played 1, 2, 3 tournaments. I played in 3 good tournaments at the beginning of the year, and a lot of team games. Looks like for the rest of the year I'm playing in the Hungarian Team Championship, the Budapest Team Championship, and maybe one tournament before the year is out, but it's still not 100%. My club might organize like some kind of IM tournament or something, so if that happens, there's a good chance they're gonna like force me to play. Yeah, life is good. It's been better, it's been worse. That's all I can say. Knight to c6 here. I'd like to play more over the board chess, but unfortunately it just requires like time and money, and you know, going to tournaments, unless you're like a 2600 GM. I mean, even for like 2500 GMs, I know a lot of 2500 GMs who can't afford to like play in tournaments. They just don't win enough prize money. So Constant Change playing the Sozin. This is not his old repertoire. Maybe he played this at the end. I think he played this at the end of our struggles. Queen b6 is another move I should probably play. It's a very popular move, the Benko variation with Queen b6. Something for some reason I never really picked up, but it's one of the best ways for black to play in this particular move order. It prevents the Velimirovich attack, and the thing is, like the Velimirovich attack where white castles queenside, it's like white's sharpest, and I always like going into it though because I have a lot of experience. And the other day against Xerox, who's challenging me now, we had a Velimirovich where I messed it up, honestly, because I haven't played it in a while. The bishop c4 Sicilian isn't really a very trendy variation at the moment. f3. This is kind of like mixing two different systems together, but it's probably not terrible. I can play d5. There's definitely an argument for d5. I think that it will hopefully equalize. You know, a lot of players are deathly afraid of having an isolated pawn, but I think that's a mistake. The isolated pawn is just a formative, important position. that everybody needs to be able to play. And the isolated pawn, it's a strong pawn. It controls a lot of key central squares. We basically played d5 with tempo. I mean, you can't really sneeze at that. That's an achievement. We have good control of the center, and black should be equal here. It's a little bit like some kind of Tarrasch French, but a good one for black. Now bishop c5. Bishop c5 is the most active move. I have to calculate though, like bishop e3, queen b6, knight a4, queen a5 check, c3, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4. Maybe like white retains some kind of tiny advantage there. Again, it's a lot like the French. You know, the other option would be to just play like a straight up bishop e7, but that's kind of passive. Don't like playing bishop e7 really here. Maybe I have a different option. Bishop c5, bishop e3. Queen b6, knight a4, as I said. Queen e7, queen d2. Castles, castles, queenside. Rook e8. Then he's going to have to go somewhere strange with his bishop. Alright, I don't know. It looks as good as anything. Equal until white trades most of the pieces. I mean, if you look at the game like the classic Floor versus Capablanca, Floor unable to win with like knight, a good knight against bad bishop and isolated pawn on d5. Even like the worst case scenario, when black has an isolated pawn and a bad bishop, Capablanca holding. Most often, like the isolated pawn is not enough to win for white. He would need to have a secondary kind of advantage. You're not going to just win unless it's like a king and pawn endgame. Knight endgame or king and pawn endgame maybe. That's the only situations where you're just losing because of the isolated pawn. Not always, you know, but usually. But like knight versus bad bishop, it's often a draw. So you've got to be kind of careful for black, like, or with the side with the isolated pawn. There are a few endings where you may be lost, but it's usually like a secondary kind of weakness that does you in. If you have the isolated pawn, you get tied down to it, you play passively, and then like the opponent is able to create a second, you know, focus point of attack. I mean, that's when you usually lose. I want to play as actively as possible here. You know, he could play something else, like he might be able to play bishop knight b3, but that's good for me. I mean, his piece is driven away from the center. Or knight takes c6 gives me hanging pawns, but that's still a better, more solid structure than the isolated pawn. It's like they're brothers, basically, or sisters. Yeah, so he played knight b3. Now we have to think. I have bishop b4, and white would probably have to play a3 there. And I don't know if is that a good thing or a bad thing for me to force a3? Actually, he could just castle kingside in that position. Maybe bishop d6 is the best move. That's the most active move. White has bishop g5, and I can't get out of the pin. Kind of an issue. Bishop b6, not letting him castle kingside is interesting. That's like the most aggressive move. The most solid move is bishop e7. Maybe that is the best move. Bishop e7, bishop... Let's say bishop e7 castles. But he can set up a blockade of the d4 pawn with like bishop e3. Alright. I made my decision. This is the most active move. Played bishop g5. Well, I can certainly even consider like h6 here. Take, castles with compensation. d4 knight e4. Bishop e6 should be fine. I could even castle queenside, possibly. It's not a great square for my bishop, but I don't have a great square for my bishop. Even f5 isn't really terrific. But the most important thing is that I connect my heavy pieces on the back rank here. We'll play h6 and g5 if we want to. The thing is, do I have d4? If queen d2, d4, he'll have like knight b5, I guess. And then h6, where's he going? He doesn't have it, actually. He'd have to go back to a3 there, which is pretty awkward for white. So queen d2, d4, and if, yeah, knight e4. There's no knight e4. At least it's not good for white. He can play it, but it changes the pawn structure so that I should be fine. Yeah, he did it anyway. Okay. I no longer have the only isolated pawn on the board here. And let's see. We could play f6. That weakens my king a little bit, but it's playable. Shores up e5. Gains a valuable tempo. But queen d7 is also okay. Alright. Can't play bishop h5 check, that loses piece. Alright, well, as long as I'm not the only one with an isolated pawn, then I don't mind. a5. a5 looks pretty strong. All of our pieces are protected, except for the bishop on e6, threatening a4. We're kicking his knight to a1, or a3. a4, a3 would really open his king up. This looks like a good position for black. What's your opinion on creative, ambitious, yet slightly dubious play in chess from renowned players like Oprah Wyson? I think that there's a lot of room for that, particularly in fast time controls, especially 1 minute chess. But you know, you see this like debate like up into the highest levels. The faster the time control, the more room there is for creative, maniacal type of play. You know, at rapid chess, like in under 30 minutes games, I think it's almost, you know, maybe almost a good thing. All right, we have a very good game here for black. What I need to do is get the rest of my pieces in the attack, into the attack. The C file, the D file. I mean, the C file is really where I want to go. My other rook is not yet in play. We have this maneuver, possibly. My A rook is actually doing nothing there. But I do want to keep my A4 pawn protected against bishop B5. Probably a minor consideration. A major minor. Got a lot of potential pressure. Okay, I think he just blundered there. I mean, I've been sitting on this move for a long time. I was almost tempted to play it straight up. I'm gonna take the material, basically. Yeah, that's too big a concession. He should probably need the bishop coming back to B2. Not sure which way is the safest to recapture here. They're both good. This is actually like lower maintenance. This is a huge problem for white. He's basically playing a piece down. We're not going to be able to break through directly. The C2 is too well protected. I guess B5 followed by like bishop C4, and now he's looking for squares. Well, that might actually make sense now. It's part of the plan. Come here, trade, and break through along the C file. Good understanding of blockade there from Constant Change. If only I could get my queen to A2. Hint, hint. Now we have very serious threats of B4. He can't really stop it. It looks really strong. All right, so curious though about the opening. Has this been played before? I mean, you know, to be honest with you, ESPN, I used to play like E4, A6 against people in tournament games sometimes. It has a huge psychological effect when you play really offbeat openings. So I subscribe to that, you know. I mean, I think that there's a limit though, probably, in what time control you should play like risky openings. I definitely played too many kind of substandard openings. Like playing the Scandinavian with knight f6 all the time, I don't think it was really good. But if you can play something that really disturbs the opponent, then again, you know, really strong players they're not going to be tilted, you know. So it depends on who you're playing. I mean, against a really experienced player, they're not going to get tilted because you played a weird opening. It's going to be like the less experienced players who have a tendency to be vulnerable to that kind of thing. So I think you need to be very careful about who you try to pull that against. Okay, F3, the German Junior Championship here in 1997. Alexander Neumann would go on to become a very strong, solid GM, and De Glaria is an IM. D5 is the best move for me. Neumann just played bishop e7, which is, it's okay. But this equalizes. So let's see. Is this the best move? Bishop c5, apparently. Yeah, I like bishop e3 here, constant change. I think this makes, the most sense. And I spent a while analyzing this. I was looking at queen e7, queen d2, castles, and then the idea of rook e8. But I guess at the end of the day, maybe it's not that great. Yeah, it says it's equal. This is basically what I was going to do. Still, it's not that easy. White might have a tiny edge here. So this is how the game probably should have gone. The other possibility was the queen b6, but the computer may have seen something I missed. I didn't like queen b6, knight a4, queen a5 check, c3 for some reason. I was looking at this, but what's the problem here? Bishop takes, knight takes. I analyzed this like out loud. And then bishop d7 I looked at. So apparently the engine feels this is just equal. Okay, the knight is problematic. I could play b6 to freeze it on a4. Almost trapping my queen in the process. So b6, queen b4. This is a very typical like ending for the French. I know a Tarosh variation that's almost identical to this. This is not so simple. Maybe b6 isn't right. So I actually looked at bishop d7 here. Castles, knight c5. The knight gets back in the game, and then rook e8. And there's a problem with the e2 bishop. White must see now. White has to play king f2, and that's a little precarious for white. So I don't know. White is okay, but black, has forced king f2, and it's kind of a slightly weird situation. How am I going to get the queen off of d4 though? That's a good question. Interesting opening, and maybe not bad for white. We've got World Loser here. What's up, man? World Loser is a subscriber. Trouts. What else? We got new challenges. Troll on a Roll's challenged me again. I'm not going to be able to take a second game with you, Troll on a Roll. I'm up to play Xerox next. And then we'll do World Loser and Ayeste, who are subscribers. And then we'll take, the rest of you guys. So Xerox. I'm sorry, Xerox. Challenge me again. I just clicked on... Oh, no, I misclicked. Xerox, can you challenge me again? Because I accidentally denied you. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the idea of playing like offbeat openings to upset your opponent is a very real psychological idea, and it's good. But you got to be careful who you do it against. Some people are unfazed, and others are very, very much affected by that kind of thing. I played a6 on a handful of occasions, and mostly it was good. Like e4, a6. It tends to make people think that you disrespect them, then they get angry. Sometimes they tilt, like you said. It's not a bad idea. Okay, Xerox has challenged me Chess 960. We're playing another one with white. This is going to be the last Chess 960. I don't like to play more than like 2 out of 10 games. Guys, I have to cut out a little bit early today at around 12. But we'll play as much as we can. Queens on h1. I have noticed that oftentimes like a slight issue. So I definitely want to get on that long diagonal first before he has time to react. I don't want my queen to be shut out of play. I've run into that problem quite a bit, where I have to do like h3, queen h2, and it's usually very artificial. Rowan says a6 can't be that bad. The problem with it is like, you're usually doing an extended fianchetto, and it's more active than like it's more active than, what do you call it, the Owen defense. But that's why like Miles preferred to play a6. But the problem is with the extended fianchetto, white often has the move a4, so Usually your pawn structure gets broken up and stuff. I just couldn't resist playing f4. I mean, it opens up a lot of pieces for me. Knight behind the pawn, rook. It feels like there's some white square weaknesses, but my pieces do control the squares. His queen could come down the long diagonal too. I probably have to meet that symmetrically with like c3, but he didn't do it. I don't know. I mean, it feels like a weird setup for white. c3. Where am I putting this knight? I mean, not only about like denying the queen on the long diagonal, not that relevant here, but I need to get my bishop out. Now there's knight c4, which is not a joke. That's a seriously disruptive move. And we don't really have a good way of protecting that. I think I'm going to have to, man, d3. d3 is not really optimal here. Maybe, man, I don't know. This is very awkward to meet knight b6. And if I play d3, then the e3 square is pretty weak. That's probably not a... It is a big deal, actually, because knight g4, knight d5. He's on those squares. I think I can manage it. I don't want to let this knight in there. But then again, he could play knight a4, probably forcing me... He could have played knight a4, forcing me to play like king c2. This is a little weird. Wasting too much time here. But then again, so is he. He has very many of the same problems that I do. And now I can play rook b1 if I have to. If knight d5, bishop e2, knight g4, queen f3 is fine. Well, actually rook f3 probably necessary. But then his pieces would get repulsed. That's the thing. I mean, you put the knight here, okay, bishop d2. You put the other knight here, okay, rook f3. Now what? You know, I'm just going to drive everything back. Simon Williams lost to Ben Feingold. Did any of you watch? I did not watch. I was hoping for a peanut butter and jelly wrestling like tiebreaker or something, but I guess it didn't materialize. No, I didn't watch. I respect those guys, are good players. I mean, I feel like Ben, you know, nothing against Simon Williams, but I feel like Ben is... Okay, Ben's older, you know, he has, you know, Simon still has a lot of years ahead of him as a player. I think that, you know, Ben has more experience. You know, on paper, I don't know what their current ratings are. I think Ben might be like a slightly stronger player. I would say. But Ben is a special player. He's like a fast player. He's very good at blitz and rapid chess. He was 2600 USCF, which is really respectable. Simon is no slouch by any standards, though. I honestly don't know the two players that well. I mean, I've played three tournament games with them, and a handful of blitz games. Is Chess 960 good practice? I think Chess 960 is excellent training. I wouldn't waste my time. You know, if I had an endless life, you know, if I could live for 500 years, maybe I would play some bullet chess or other variants. But since life is so short, I don't have time to play like other chess variants. I want to like get something out of what I'm doing. So I think Chess 960 is a good value for your time. it's really applicable to regular chess. You can understand better like piece coordination. That's the most important thing. You can take away from. I have to touch my rook. Okay. I changed the settings on my. I changed the settings on the castling thing because I had it on move the king 2 squares before, and I changed it to touch your rook. I didn't even know like you could change the setting till like last week. This is a good move. He's like playing for e5. It looks like it's basically becoming a Dutch where I'm playing the Dutch. How much do we have on the F file? The answer is not enough. I've got to be mindful of what I'm doing here. He's starting to coordinate. Probably I have to play e4. I mean, I hate d4. e4 is complicated and sharp. Is there anything else I can do? Maybe queen g1. Queen g1, switching diagonals to the dark side. The e5 takes, bishop f4. Am I having hallucinations? Another good question. Wasting an awful lot of time here. Alright, let's try it. I think that e4 was okay, but I kind of open up his rook along the d file too. He just goes for it. How strong an attack can we get here with sacking our bishop? Two pawns and a raging initiative. Looks pretty dangerous for black, actually. I've got knight a5 and bishop a4 coming. Good choice. Can I just win through a direct attack? Not sure it's enough. So first off, bishop c5. I could have played bishop, I guess bishop b6 there as well. I didn't even see that move. Good to know about. Just hoping it doesn't work. Tricky tactically. Right, so now queen f4 with double attack. My queen has lots of lateral squares, so it doesn't get trapped, hopefully. Oh, the rook is protected. All our pieces are protected. LPDO. Loose pieces drop off. Queen c7, bishop f4. Bishop c5. I mean, he has a lot of dark square weaknesses. That's why I decided to, you know, not play d4 and allow e5. I had the feeling that his dark square weaknesses would be enough. I mean, of course, it all hinges on b6, bishop takes b6 being like a winning sacrificial attack for me. If he had the b6, I wouldn't have been able to use the c5 square. Black would have been okay. Okay, so what's the deal with this? Oh, I was like expecting him to play g5 or something. He like lost a rook. Okay, that is a serious material deficit. But he's threatening knight e3. Alrighty then. Want to be a little thoughtful about this. We're up a rook, which is good. But I'm going to probably lose at least a pawn back here. Okay then. Try to deny him access to said square. '93 rook e1. Oh, my rook's trapped. That's alright, we can afford to lose. We can afford to lose an exchange back, I guess. We'll just be up a piece. We're just up a piece. If we just remain calm, blockade. Looks good. I did not play the best. I'm sure that Stockfish will pick me apart for my 7 mistakes I made. Most likely. In this stage of the game. Just keep the pawn blockaded. Nice and fundamental stuff. Get the king to a safe square. He's down a pawn to boot. Very well. Alright, so next customer, we were with World Loser and Ayeste. Those guys are subscribers. Mikey Slice. The last donation was 5 months ago for $1. What? Alright, Mikey Slice, thanks for subscribing. You guys are having a conversation there about gaming PCs. We're going to play World Loser and then the rest of Ayeste and the rest of the guys. I've got about an hour and 5 minutes, hour and 10 minutes left. I have to finish like 25 minutes early today. So World Loser is also a moderator filling in here. Blue Crow, good to see you. The old rookie 8. Okay, World Loser will play the Slav I was working with one of my students who wants to play the semi-Slav with black, but I'm not sure if World Loser plays regular Slav or semi-Slav, to be honest now. Generally speaking, I've avoided the Slav discussions a lot of times with Queen C2 in the last year or two. Okay, this is mainline Slav. It's really solid for black. I wasn't really hoping for this. I was hoping for a semi-Slav because I had just been studying a lot of those lines with one of the guys that I work with, and I wanted to put it out into practice. Here, World Loser did not play bishop b4. Does it matter? Does it even matter? It's a good question. How bad is it to not play bishop b4 right away? I mean, you can always play it now, and it would like transpose, right? But he's just like dissing bishop b4. He's not playing bishop b4. Okay, I mean, it's probably some obscure line for black. But basically, like, putting the bishop on e7 is too passive. You know, you kind of need to do this. World Loser raises the question as to whether it's necessary to play it right away, and I never really thought about it. Everyone plays bishop b4. I know that bishop e7 is passive, but the delaying bishop b4 is kind of interesting. All right, now I should have, you know, at least like a slight edge. The bishop's just not, you know, attacking the knight and putting more pressure on e4. I can play e4 straight up. That should be good for white. But World Loser is a practical player. You know, it's not like black's position is lost because it's a tiny bit more passive than usual setup. It's still playable. I don't know why you would go g6 rather than h7 here, though. To go bishop h5 later? Okay. Interesting. He's very fast. So, I mean, very often bishop h5 happens in the main lines anyway. So if he wants to do this, fine. But, I mean, he could have gone bishop g4 like last move. So it's kind of weird to go bishop g6, bishop h5. Now I have knight e5. Doesn't really do anything. Just take and play knight to d7. h3. h3 weakens my king side a little bit. This is not a good position for me, you know, against a player who plays for time. It's really a very strategic line, very subtle. White needs to take time. White needs to prove something because white has the space advantage, but it's actually very, very usually slow moving white's space advantage. So a good choice of opening by World Loser for this time control. White has to prove something. White, you know, the onus is on me, and it's a like really closed position. So he has good chances to beat me on the clock, or force a mistake by, you know, just playing fast. Maybe e5 and take on d5 simply. Belyavsky will do this sometimes. But it's not, you know, it's nothing special for white. It's kind of like an advanced Caro-Kann. We have a little bit of space advantage. Objectively equal. I'm not even sure if I should take with the rook. I mean, it's possible to take with the queen. Yeah, but this makes some sense for me, I guess. No, I don't know. Alright, yeah. Now, we sort of like shut everything down and try to create some threat on the king side. Look at this. Positional maestro. He's not even paying attention. Anyway, I want to make sure that... Wow, what? He's playing so fast. F4. Should I do something else? Should I prepare F4? Can I prepare F4 with like Queen E2 or something? F4, F5, pawn takes F6, check. Bishop takes F6. It should really be good. How do you play so fast? Yeah, he's playing ridiculously fast. The problem, I have to watch out for knight e3. Can actually get my queen trapped. Some positions. So knight d3. And queen e2 is interesting here too. Defending e3. Therefore, how does he move so fast? He just makes moves. It's unbelievable. White is definitely better here. Queen d3. Maybe I need to play this. I don't know what he's doing with the time. It's crazy. Why does he play so fast? We have to be better here. We're loser basically playing like it's a sudden death bullet game. But he's played remarkably well for playing bullet. But at the end of the day, Black's king is just open. I mean, that's the really most relevant factor here. If queen d3, he would have played king h8 anyway. I guess this is like an exchange of pawns, huh? Dangerous to take on f4. I don't know why he's playing so ridiculously fast. I mean, I understand if you want to play fast, but you've got a pretty much playable position right here. You're still worse. Here he was okay. After this point, this was a blunder. It's tricky to defend the black king side, but I think king h8, that would have been fine. Very similar to the game. Almost the exact same position. I've never seen anyone do this in the opening, World Loser. I mean, h6 is really strange. Like, there's no known players who have played this move, although it doesn't seem that bad. Ika Salmi. I never heard of him. Any Finns here that can verify this guy? Queen e2, bishop e7. It's just passive, but still, it's not that bad. I mean, what? Yeah, bishop g6. This is not bad for black. You should be okay here. It's basically equal. Bishop takes d3, queen takes d3. I think the rook was probably a mistake by me. I wanted to make this rook work, you know, but yeah, now the engine likes it. Okay, rook takes d3. You know, so the classic like knight b8 idea. Rook c8 is good. Yeah. So Beliavsky would typically play like knight e1 here. This type of position, you know, the same idea that I did in the game. The rook's coming across, the queen's coming up. We've got, you know, to defend the queen side. Apparently my move order was slightly inaccurate. Best move. Queen a6, best move. Knight e1. Knight b6. Yeah, I always hate that move. He has to play accurately here to maintain equal position. Alright, Ayeste is next. Then we're going to go to the other viewers. Okay, guys, what's up? Mikey Slice says, remember that time I donated $5? Yes. Thank you. Trout subscribed for $4.99. Awesome. Yeah, Plupro, I'm not reading the chat, you know, because my my Twitch is on a different machine. I have the two machines, so sometimes when I'm playing the game, I can't watch the chat and the game at the same time. Good idea for the overlays, though. I will do that. World Loser, stop playing so fast. You played a great game, but you need to take your time. You have an equal position there. We're gonna play Ayeste next. Traus, thank you for subscribing, man. Bribe him to host you. Alright, sorry guys, I'm just focused on the game. Blue Crow said I should do stream overlays with integrated alerts. I did want to get Twitch alerts. I just never seem to have time to do anything. Alright, we're going to play here with Ayeste, who is a subscriber. Trout's just subscribed. That's awesome, he'll play next. He gets to jump the line. The line here is not as bad as like Epcot Center, but it still can be a drag to wait. Alright, so Ayeste. Yeah, what is Ayeste play against e4 again? I've been playing e4. I kind of want to brush up on my white e4. Mikey Slice, thank you for streaming as well, and we will try to support you as a co-streamer, as a fellow streamer, I should say. Bishop b5. All right. The refutation of chess. All right, I played a lot of Queen e2. I like this move. It's like really old school. d3 is the more popular approach. Blue Crow, thanks for the recommendation. We will check that out. Yeah, I do miss a lot of the chats sometimes due to tense games against World Loser where I have 15 seconds while he has 3 minutes. It is kind of hard to read the chat. Definitely. Okay, bishop c5 is a good line. Yeah, there's like an old game with bishop takes c6, d takes c6, knight takes e5. I think like Chigorin was white in this crazy game. Black sacks a pawn temporarily. After bishop takes c6, d takes c6, knight takes e5. White gets a little bit discombobulated. Actually, there's queen d4 there, winning the pawn back right away. But no, it doesn't, because queen d4... Okay, let's see what Ayeste knows here. I don't know. I don't have to take the pawn, though. I can play... I don't have to take on c6, even. But I'm trying to remember this now. Knight takes e5. Queen d4. It's also possible to play queen e7. But I don't think that's right. Yeah, maybe it is right. I mean, it's hard to remember now. I have to play like knight d3. f4 is a move. I forget what Chigorin did. Maybe he played like... I'm not sure that Chigorin's opponent played knight queen e7. I think Chigorin's opponent might have played queen d4. And the game was really weird. This like English master from the 1800s played queen d4 and Chigorin played like knight d3. Black was down a pawn but had really good compensation. I guess I have to play here. Now he can't take the pawn on e4. That's the thing. So just take on c5. I think that's the way the game goes. I mean, it's not clear to me that bishop takes c6 is the best move for white. I think it may be best not to do that. I don't think I've played this in the past here on my stream. But you can also just take and play it like a normal exchange variation. Something like d3, or you can transpose to a Rubinstein variation. Knight c3, knight d1, knight e3 kind of maneuvers. Basically like a 4 knights where you're playing like you're black. Take care, Plucro. So sorry when I missed the chat, guys. Important developments like subscriptions for Mr. Trouts. We've got a lot of support now from you guys, and it's awesome. But I need to get the Twitch alerts or some kind of alerts program up there so we can automatically, recognize people who subscribe and other good stuff. World Loser, yeah, he played a great Slav. I mean, like rook c8, queen a6, it's standard. It's like a Caro-Kann advanced variation. Black should be fully equal there. I had a game like that against Alexander Vojkovic, which was a draw. I had another game with another GM, Alexander Lesiege. Both draws. Black's position is very solid. Okay, so the correct move, bishop b6. Now I need to save my pawn. And so, the problem for white is defending this pawn. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy who Chigorin played in this line. It was like Mongredian or something. Maybe he was... Maybe that was the guy. No, I'm not sure. I might have to play b3 at some point to defend my central pawn. It might have been like almost this exact position. There was like knight h5, and black played for f5, and Chigorin went like b3, bishop b2 to get out of there. Black had good comp, and then he went crazy and lost, going berserk. I mean, here, if I could play d3 somehow, it would look like black doesn't have enough compensation. So there's some school of thought that might say like play knight f2. Just like knight f2 and d3, and okay, man, I'm Boris Spassky. That's my strong point. Do something about it, you know. Because the other option with b3, it's a little bit artificial. It does develop the pieces, but this is my strong point. My name is Boris Spassky, and this is the e4 pawn. I'm gonna play d3. It reminds me of weird. Yeah, man, that's the thing. Knight h5. It's a good thing my rook on h1 is sort of protected. Maybe I need to play g3. I guess he's getting more dynamic than he used to be, it feels like to me. Let's see, d3 queen, no, d3 queen h4, g3, knight takes g3, f takes g3, bishop takes f2 check is a real blip. That's really nasty. So like I have to do g3 first. But anyway, I mean, if I have to do it, I have to do it at some point. So I might as well do it now. And then I'll do d3 next. The knight complementing my position by controlling the key white squares. Yeah, we're just defending. But, you know, you got to prove it. Black's got to prove it here. There's a gambit that white plays. I remember, how does it go now? Maybe like bishop c4 against the Petrov. Maybe one of those Urasov gambit things. Something like that. Bishop c4 against the Petrov. You like take on e4, and then white plays knight c3, and then you take on c3, and white plays d takes c. That's a gambit line that's like similar. Basically like white sacks a pawn and has this like lasting pressure. Black has to do very artificial stuff like f6 and kind of crawl around, you know, to defend. Similar to this. You like pawns? Now we've got bishop e3, which, I mean, it looks interesting. Denying his bishop on b6. On the other hand, maybe I should just play bishop d2 and hang out, you know. It's a tough call. Bishop d2 or bishop e3. Does black have enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn? I mean, I could even play f4 there, but it looks a little forcing him to go back to the center kind of thing. Maybe f4 is my idea. I'm not convinced that black has quite enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn. But I guess this certainly, you know, had a good clue about how to play this. So he takes. I mean, I think normally you'd want to not take to keep the tension and just be able to recapture with the pawn cube on the queen side. Pawn cube, probably the second best pawn structure in chess. Obviously the pawn diamond, superior to the pawn cube. The pawn cube has like two layers. You know, the first layer you can sort of send forward while keeping the second layer back for defensive purposes. It works better on the king side. Like, you can like have it on... Oh, what is this? What is this? Whoa. Alright. I think he's getting desperate. He does have bishop takes f5. So I play knight e2, and then we'll go from there. Then he doesn't have... Let's see. Yeah, he'll still have bishop f5. Maybe not. Like rook f8, f5, and I mean, I could certainly afford to give him a pawn back. We have it in the budget to give a pawn back here. Bishop takes f5, pawn takes f5, rook e8, knight e4. Not possible, that's illegal. Okay, good to know. Yeah, we will be giving a pawn back. Do I have any kind of tricks? Rook g1. Well, I got to get my king to safety. My concern here is that I'm going to lose like both f-pawns and have no material advantage. There's a lot of play here, though. I mean, I don't even have to take on f4. There are other options as well. Rook g1 looks natural. No, he's got check. Damn it. He's actually winning the second pawn back there. Okay. Wow. Great game by Ayesta. Played like a machine. Great compensation all the way. All of his pieces are developed. Really consequent play. Queen d4 now. I'm about to flag. Nothing. I mean, he's got queen. He's got rook d8 here. I have a check. Okay. But I can't defend my pawn on f3. And actually, queen c4 is a really bad square for me. Black has full compensation. And I'm just like, I don't know, I thought he should have just played rook d8 there. Maybe he's better at this point. I mean, there's no reason to panic. My knight on f2 is really bad. I'm not very well coordinated. Yeah, that's a good move. Queen c4 just sets me up for tactics. I'm just going to flag, so I'll just make a random move here. Now my knight is trapped. My god. It's a good thing my rook is defended 7 times. This reminds me of the other day when Ayeste almost beat me. He's so fast. I think he got faster since the last time I played him. I mean, you know, he's gotten faster since the old days. Man, with the devastating technique too. Now I'm like down a pawn in an ending. Why did you play that? You could have just taken on h4. Now at least I'm okay. He's got 2 connected pass pawns. Who's first? Crazy. But I guess it lost this like insanely valuable tempo by not taking on h4 before. I mean, he was just clearly like winning. Great game, man. I mean, I should have been fighting for a draw here, not winning. If we go back, he just kind of panicked. So, you know, he plays a bad move here, but rook takes h4. I would have played rook e7. This is like 100 times better than the game for black. I think you're basically like winning here. h5. It's just winning for black. Probably just winning. I don't know. The h pawn is just really strong. You can bring your, I don't know if you can bring your king up, but you could just take on f5 and have a much improved version of the game. So he had his big chance there, and then it was still a draw. Even after he misplayed it, I shouldn't have won. But the opening was an awesome game. And let's see if this is all book. There's no theory here. That's the problem with the lichess database, though. Like all games from like 1950 and earlier are like not in here. Queen d4 has been played. That's the old move from 1800s. It still might be the best. But you know, we're missing a lot of old school chess games here. Queen e7 looks like the best move according to the engine. Now, Soltis played f4. But maybe, you know, you should play like bishop d4, like the engine says here. Okay, it's an interesting variation. Again, you know, there's a lot of games from 150 years ago that aren't in the lichess master database, because there was no such thing as, I guess there was no such thing as a master in the 1800s. There were no ratings, obviously, but people were capable of playing great chess. It would be cool if like the best games from history would be included here. Anyway, let's play with Trouts, who just subscribed. We've got like 35 minutes left, guys. No, black played that game really, really well. If you look at the game Chigorin versus whatever that guy's name was, I don't know if it was Mongradian or another player that started with an M, but it was a strong master. The game was played in like the 1890s or something. I don't know. 1880s. I'm not sure. Maybe even earlier. But the game was very, very similar. Black played f5 and all this stuff with knight h5, like Ayesta there. So I sometimes play the Caro-Kann lately, but I always like cringe at the thought of playing the Caro-Kann against lower rated players. It's so hard to win with black in the Caro if white doesn't, you know, want to take any chances. Okay. So I'm not sure what Trouts plays. Was a nice game. It was marred by time pressure. I mean, I shouldn't really have been worse, probably, and he shouldn't have, been anything, but at least he should have at least got a draw. I thought he did really play great. I don't know. I mean, it's unbelievable. I was up two pawns. He made a double pawn sacrifice and was able to like get them both back. I mean, that's pretty insane. For a blitz game, for what is practically like a blitz game, I couldn't save both my doubled f pawns, and then I'm like worse. Trouts is the opposite of world loser. He's a little bit too slow. He should be challenging me to like 8+3 actually, because he's not that fast. He should use the time. You guys can challenge me to anything between 5+3 and 8+3. Okay, let's play this. This is our first chance to play this. The only time I ever played this line, I was white against Grandmaster Alex Scherzer back in 1991, a tournament in Washington, D.C. I played white against Scherzer, and it could have been 1992, 91 or 92, and Scherzer plays queen b6 against me, and I didn't really know too much about this line. I think I just played knight b3, and the position became like basically a Scheveningen, but Alex was just too strong for me back then. Scherzer gave up playing chess to be a doctor, but he was living here in Budapest. Actually, he was one of the first Americans to be based in Budapest. Little known fact, Alex Scherzer was in medical school here. I think he got his medical, he may have gotten his medical degree here, I'm not sure. But he was in medical school in Budapest. After you thought you were in trouble last game, an idea you missed was rook g1, attacking the semi-trap knight on g2. Yeah, I didn't think he should have put his knight on g2 in the first place. That was a little bit weird. I just started to panic, and I didn't have enough time to calculate anymore. So Trout's played the normal knight b3, following my game from 1991. The other possibilities are interesting, though. I mean, according to theory, like knight takes c6 is an exception to the normal rule that you don't want to take on b6. I saw a game here between Christensen and Uncle Yermo once, where Lair was white and Uncle Yermo was black, I think. Maybe it was the other way around. I think Uncle Yermo must have been black, because Uncle Yermo plays the classical Sicilian. But I was the first time I realized that knight c6 was a main line, and the other move is knight b5, which is complicated. So there's like three lines there. There is this bishop hanging on e7. It prevents white from playing the Velimirovich attack. You know, that's the kind of the main benefit of queen b6. But I really don't know the theory deeply enough to play it in a serious game with black. I thought we'd try it out here against Trouts. I used to play the Scheveningen all the time, you know, so if he plays something like bishop e2, I'm completely comfortable with that kind of position. That's how my game with Scherzer went. I mean, I probably played bishop e2 very quickly. I think a4 is a line there for white, probably. Now I have time to play b6. Now I remember something about that game with Scherzer back in 1991. I think I played a5 at some point, if I remember correctly. I did something weird, like I played a5 and like let him play b5, so I could put my bishop on b6, but it just had like zero effect. I mean, it's not usually a good idea to play a5 in this hedgehog type of structure. So that, I recall that. It was 25 years ago, and I still remember like doing a5 like an idiot. At that point I was like a 2200 player. I mean, I really wasn't that strong. And Scherzer was either like a strong IM or a GM. Bishop e3, inviting knight g4. Hey, what's up, Rich? But there's no knight g4. You know, it's always covered. He should be careful about that, but as long as his knight's not an f3, that's not an issue. He just allows knight e5 here. It's kind of weird. I can get his bishop for what it's worth. I'm not sure it's even great for me. He gains a little time for development this way. Actually, queen takes c4 is weird. I still can't believe it's not correct to take his bishop off. Yeah, here we can't play queen takes. So queen b7, keeping an eye on the white squares and avoiding the exchange of queens on his terms. But white's position seems okay. Actually... Alright, I'll take the e4 pawn if I can. I can defend b6 a bunch of times too. We have a good chance of flagging Trouts in this time control 5+3. You made Trouts paranoid. Thank you, Rich. You made him paranoid of knight g4. I'm not sure if it's a threat. Probably not. I mean, okay, like if knight g4, bishop d4, am I gonna play e5 and weaken my d5 square? I don't know. I don't think it's really an issue. I'm just looking for smooth development here. However, e5 could be a threat. Is e5? Looks almost crazy to weaken his white squares any more than they already are. However, if I play bishop d7, I take away my knight's best square. Could go knight h5 actually. Okay, I can go. It's kind of like, well, what else are you going to do? You know, I could play knight e8. I mean, if he plays e5, worst case scenario, if I have to play knight e8, I can play knight h5. That's kind of off on the side, but I'm threatening knight g3, knight f5 there, which forces him to react. Actually, e5, d5 is even possible. That's probably a decent French for white. I'll probably lose material on b6. I don't like e5, d5, queen b3 for black. So, I think he should strike there, though, while the iron is... Strike while the iron is hot. Are they talking about guns? Am I just, like, slow? The iron. The shooting iron. Alright. We've got our undermining of white's center with the b5. Trouts, I think you should have gone for e5, but you've got me pinned now. But now we're talking about a good position for black. I've got everything in order. The white squares. The gunslinger. That is a bad movie. Alright, bishop c6. Talk about a movie that had like nothing to do with the book. We're talking about irons that are hot, and this is a very hot diagonal. Alright guys, I'm gonna stream for another 20 minutes. Trouts is gonna go down in flames here. b4, rook a2 could be a problem. I could just take on e4 twice because my pawn is poison. Okay, he has knight takes b5. Or queen takes b5. You missed it, Trouts. You have to take on b5 there. I'm rushing a little bit. Rook d4, good move. Not good enough. I have a check. Should I play the check? I'm not sure. Not sure it does anything. He's bothering me. We've got d5. He saw it. Now queen c4. I don't know if this is a good move, but I'm all for better endgames. Next, if I play an ordinary move here, he'll take over the open file. Alright, that looks suspicious. But I understand. I mean, you have some point there that, you know, the pawn's on the wrong color. You can attack it. Maybe you can get out with like d4 and rook d3. But still, I think that white has got the rook on a very awkward square. He can't quite get out of the squeeze here. Needs a way to attack b4. Bishop b6 would have been better. This is not a bad move. How can I get in there? Damn it, Trouts. Do something bad. I could have played rook h2. I mean, the rook ending... Yeah, this is finally winning for me. He should have found a way to play like bishop e6 and a5 before. Okay, nice fight. Nice fight. Just a quick glance at the opening before we play one more game. Let's see. So, this is all book. You know, main line looks like f4. Actually, like a4 is an interesting move straight away. That has a good score, 45% based on a small sample size. But it's all book till knight d2. Not such a bad move, I guess. The engine likes knight d2 at first, and then changes its mind. f4 is the standard move. It's just basically a kind of Scheveningen. Alright, guys, this might be the last game for today. Refutation is illusion. We'll see how quick, you know, we can play. I gotta leave early today. Got some business to take care of. We'll be back on Sunday with a on Sunday with a simul here. Viewer simul on lichess. It's gonna be Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central European summertime. Did I say 7? Actually 6:30. 6:30. It will be posted. Kind of a good move against d6, I think, bishop c4. Against other setups, I don't like bishop c4. Once you lost the light square bishop, it was kind of not so fun. Yeah, it's not good after that. But you put up a little bit of resistance. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, okay, you might have had better. After queen b7, you have to find a precise continuation. I don't know. In technical speak, I don't know. I don't even know what, like, the best is for black here. Udasin used to kill people with this with white. Udasin against, like, or Udazin, if we want to pronounce it correctly. Leonid used to, like, beat 2400 players. Like, he was falling out of bed when he was playing white. Adams also played bishop c4 quite a bit against d6. It's fully justified when black plays the d6 move to play bishop c4, I think. It becomes a kind of dangerous system. Udasin just kind of turning it into a Joko piano or something. A lot of times black has to play like e5 to stop the center from getting out of control. I thought it seems like you had gone a little to the a file instead of the c file with your rook. You may have better chances. Albert Turkey. This is an unusual move now. A bit weird. I'm attracted to the fact that the b2 pawn is unprotected here. But then again, queen b6 is kind of an artificial move. No, I think I should just play something sensible. Get my pieces developed. This is one way to play. Get the bishop outside the pawn chain, then play like e6. Alternatively, I could play g6 with the fianchetto, or maybe just play like e6 straight up and leave the bishop on c8, try to fianchetto it on b7. So there are basically lots of setups, but this move doesn't really like typically fit in. Okay, knight d2, probably a good reaction by white though. I'm wondering what I should do. Could get a little strange after this. Playing d5. Maybe we can trap his bishop or trade it off or something with d4. Bishop f4, knight h5. I feel like I don't want to overextend myself though. I mean, that can happen sometimes when you play like d4 for black. I'm looking at bishop b3, d4, pawn takes pawn, bishop f4. Actually, you can just go bishop g5 there. I mean, d4 isn't that appealing. It kind of overextends my center. So I think I'm going to forget about that. It would be one thing if I was forking pieces, but yeah, this feels wrong. I don't know. Nothing special for black. White can try to play like h3 and g4 here. It's a little weakening, but maybe you can create some complications. Now the h3, g4, not quite as appealing once white castles. I think the whole setup, just the only thing that's strange is the bishop on e3, but it's hard to concretely take advantage of that. So white remains solid. Why bishop e7 instead of bishop d6? Well, you know, because there's the possibility of bishop g5 for one thing. You know, he could pin me. That's one point. And the second point is that, you know, typically you can get forked by a pawn e5. You know, maybe not right away, but down the line. So you don't want that to happen. Setting yourself up for a future like e5 pawn fork. When I played bishop e7 in that moment, I mean, to play bishop d6, I'm not going to say that it's not a reasonable move. I mean, it's okay. But I mean, there's a lot of factors. Another factor is like that sometimes I like to have pressure down this d line. Maybe I can exchange pawns and play for control of d3. And then my bishop is getting in the way of my queen. In a strict sense, like bishop d6 is a more active square. So you could play possibly bishop d6, queen c7 type of formation. Yeah, maybe. I would say it's playable here, as long as he doesn't have e5. But I'm content with this. I might want to play like queen c7, rook d8, and I look for play along this line. That's why oftentimes the bishop gets in the way on d6. But maybe good. You know, here's another instance where it's relevant. You know, my queen protects d5. I'm lucky I didn't like double click that. I'm just going to take with the knight and try to put pressure on white directly down the d line. And that's where, like, having the bishop on e7, it doesn't interfere with my ability to put pressure on white in this structure. I mean, this is a very bad move by white positionally. On every level, you know, e takes d. He's trading his strong point on e4. You know, there's no reason to do that. I mean, he really needs that pawn. Now, maybe after something like pawn takes pawn, he could play d4. This isn't quite as good now. I guess he could still play d4 here. But he can't recapture with the knight. He would get an isolated pawn on d4. So this bishop is kind of a mystery piece. I'm not sure, like, I really want to take it because it's so bad and immobile. There's no rush, basically. So if we can just improve our position, again, the D file should be very important for me. Possibility of going here. If he decides to play D4 at some point, the whole thing will, you know, the whole situation will change significantly. He also has knight E4 now, which might be a good move. I will consider taking on E3. What are my options after knight E4? I have other options like knight E5, maybe, threatening to decimate his pawn structure. That looks pretty interesting. Very interesting. Knight E4, knight E5. Oops. Then maybe, oh, that is pretty bad for him, actually. Queen E2. He's not out of the pin yet. We just bring a rook to the D file. Bring rook to D file. We have knight F4. It has a little more effect with the rook on D8. I don't like, you know, this exchange he made in the center made his life difficult. Position is clearly better for black. What exactly is wrong with E6? When were you saying that, Arsenal fan? Wasn't sure about which position. So rook C1. I mean, now I just have a kind of lasting positional advantage. Knight F4. Bishop takes F4, queen takes F4. It looks like he's almost ready to play D4 and just like accept an isolated pawn with the pressure along the C file. Okay, this maybe releases the pressure a little bit, but I have this lasting advantage of the two bishops. He's really paralyzed to D3. It looks awful for white, but he might be able to get away. Knight like takes queen E4. Actually, takes queen E4 and then bishop D6, which was suggested earlier. Looks like a good move. I don't want to take on E4 and like fix his pawn structure. I mean, I could even play like G5. It's kind of insane, but he should play this queen move, or maybe queen E3. This is a bad, probably a bad move. H3. I feel like anyway, I don't want to trade anymore, ever on F3, and we're gonna put pressure on D3. He should, no, he like has to play, well, a passive move of some kind. It's not a forced win by any means, but black is a huge positional advantage. There's this move though, which is possible only now. And I was going to play rook d7, but this looks kind of irritating. So, how can we improve our position just gradually here? Bringing the other rook over. That looks kind of lame. Maybe a6 to meet bishop a4 with b5. Simply that. Stopping bishop a4. I'm not intending to play that. Now rook d7. We just bring the rook across, increase the pressure. Two bishops look really monstrous. This is the last game for today, guys. I've got to go early. We'll be back tomorrow, not tomorrow, Sunday night with the simul for 25 players. I don't have a let's see, bishop takes e4 wins a pawn here. Do I have better? It gives him ops-colored bishops with some, you know, practical chances there. It's almost better to not do that, it seems like. Simul for 25 players on Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. CEST here on lichess. You guys are welcome, Mule Skinner. I'm sorry I can't play more, but I have some personal obligations to leave early today. Alright, bishop g6. And we're threatening, obviously, c4, which is very, very dangerous for white. I was declining the opportunity to win a pawn because I wanted more like just positional pressure here. Knight e5. Bishop takes c5. So refutation is illusion, defending really well. Really, really well. I've got knight a5 followed by knight c4 for whatever that's worth. Knight a5, bishop c2. It's just like a trade. Is that even good for me? Right, let's just make a prophylactic move here. f4, that weakens his position more. Knight a5. I mean, I'd like to get bishop c5 in somehow, but it's not going to happen. $1,300, man. You're pretty tough for 1,300. c4, bishop c2. Pawn takes d3. Rook takes d3. God. He's just hanging on. What do I do? Maybe f5 even at some point. He's defending like a genius. Am I threatening anything there? He denies it. Rook a1 with no time left. Oh my god, we'll just have to play for time. Finally gives me something, the d4 square. Great defense by white overall. Looks like we finally have bishop f6 winning the exchange. Doesn't win the exchange. He blundered a rook. He even defended against losing the exchange. It's like, if he doesn't blunder a rook there and moves his rook, I'm still not making concrete progress. Wow. Alright. We are up a rook now. I might as well just bring the bishop back. He's pretty fast. That is hanging. That's protected. He's melting down. Man, nice try though. You really hung tough in a very difficult position. Yeah, bishop e3 is weird. You see a lot of moves here. c3, castles, bishop e3, h3, knight bd2, a3, knight c3. Not a single bishop e3, because it's just awkwardly placed there. It's not that easy to exploit, but that's kind of a strange setup. So let's see what, like, the bishop d6 suggestion. The computer is very, very unsure there. Now it agrees with your suggestion of bishop d6. Then it changes its mind to my move, bishop e7. So it's a subtle point. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. We will be back on Sunday with Simul for 25 players, 40-40 time control. Usually lasts 3 hours. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to Trouts for subscribing. I hope I didn't miss any other subscribers while I was playing. But anyway, guys, I'll be back on Sunday night. Thanks for your views, and also check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Once again, thanks for the support through subscriptions. I'll see you guys Sunday. Thanks to World Loser and for Blue Crow, who's not a moderator anymore, but still good to see him here. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.